Hey, I'm Dr. Brendan McCarthy, the Chief Medical Officer of Protea Medical Center in Tempe, Arizona. Thanks for tuning in. What am I doing here? I'm cooking. I'm cooking for you. Food is medicine. It is. There's all these sayings around that, and food is medicine. And I do prescribe diet with my patients, a fair amount. And the tricky part is like how I see food may be very different from how a patient sees food. I grew up working in the culinary industry, basically. My whole childhood, I've worked, from age 13 until 33. I worked in the food industry. So that's a long time in there. So when I recommend food to patients, I'm like, I know this is delicious, but the patient may not have the same experience of that food as I do. So one of the things I desperately need in my patient's health to improve patient health is fiber. Fiber's a big deal. And studies are clear, our ancestors ate way more fiber. The benefit of fiber is not just limited to just normal digestion and healthy bowel transit. Way more to that. Your body uses fiber as a means of just getting rid of cholesterol, as a means of getting rid of metabolic waste. Fiber is an essential part of maintaining blood sugar metabolism. It's also super important for you to feed your healthy biome of probiotics that live inside of you. You want to nurture that. So this is all what fiber does. It's just difficult because the foods that are high in fiber, we've kind of navigated away from over time. We tend to do more refined foods. And then when you do eat foods that are rich in fiber, they don't taste good because they're not prepared well. So when I have a patient presenting to clinic and I know they need fiber, say their LDL cholesterol is elevated, I need them to get more fiber because I know fiber lowers LDL cholesterol. I'm limited on what their taste is. So I'm here today to show you how to make delicious beans. This is a funny thing for me, and I don't know if you noticed my name is Brendan. It's Brendan Michael McCarthy. I am of Irish heritage, and I am a man of Irish heritage, American Irish heritage, who's going to show you how to make Mexican beans today. And hopefully this goes as well as I think it does. Anyway, starting whenever you prepare something like this, and beans is really important, just putting a can of beans in a pot and heating up, that's some basic stuff. And you may do it every once in a while, but it's not the best way of cooking. The best way of cooking is to layer it up. And this is not hard to do. Okay, I have my mise en place out. My mise en place is just all the things you put in place to make that work, what you're gonna do. I have my basic ingredients are gonna be, and if you look below, you're going to see all the ingredients are gonna be, and the recipe is gonna be linked below. We have onions and garlic. I have some chorizo from the local butcher. Chorizo is a pork type of sausage. There's a lot of Mexican flavors in it. A lot of flavor in this. This is a really important part of the recipe. I have some heirloom tomatoes with campari tomatoes. I have my pinto beans. I used canned beans on purpose because not all of us have the time to soak our beans and prep our beans. That is the best way of doing it. Soaking, prepping, cooking from scratch. I like that best. But I wanted to show you guys how to do this on the fly with canned beans. This dish in the pressure cooker, maybe half an hour, even less in the pressure cooker under pressure. That's the longest it takes. Longer if you're gonna be doing it with cooked beans, with raw beans. I'm gonna give you two recipes. One with, you can make the beans from scratch, and one with the beans already canned. So ours are canned today for show you how easy this will be. I have my yellow bell peppers. I have 2 jalapeños. I have my cilantro. I have some cheese. We put the cheese on the very end product. The important part of cheese is everyone loves cheese on their beans, I think. My daughter, all right, my children have some food sensitivities and they had them worse when they were younger. And I remember we go out and eat with them and we go to a place and we'd order, we have pintos and cheese, no cheese. And it became like a funny line in our family because it said pintos and cheese on the recipe, on the menu rather. It said pintos and cheese. And I didn't want to say just pintos because I didn't know if that's on the menu. So I would say pintos and cheese, no cheese. And anyway, it's a funny joke in the family. I have some better than bouillon chicken, better than bouillon. This is what I'm gonna be working with today. There's different other types of bouillon you can use, different types of vegetable stock, chicken stock, whatever you want. And again, this could be adjusted to make it vegan. This could be adjusted not to make it pescatarian. You don't want to put fish in this. It's not going to taste good with fish. But you can do it vegan. That's not hard. Just take out the chorizo. There's other ways of doing that. You probably want to push in more of your aromatics, like your onions, your garlic. You probably throw a little celery and carrot in there to give it a little more volume, more flavor to it, because you're going to be pulling out the chorizo. And then you want to use a lot of the spices that are in the chorizo, cumin, things like that. But right now, just for us, we're working with this. All right. Now, first steps. We want to preheat our pressure cooker. So we set our pressure cooker to saute, and we use the saute function. Now you don't have to use a pressure cooker. You don't have to use Instant Pot. This is the way I've been doing it. You do it on a stove top, that's fine. So pressure cooker's going, it's on, it's preheating the saute function. I'm gonna cut my onion up and get it ready to go. You know, the white part of the onion is the part that everyone uses. Did you know this brown part of the onion is the highest amount of quercetin? Did you know that? Quercetin is a flavonoid that stabilizes mast cells, and it's really helpful for reducing histamine release from mast cells. So, no one wants to eat the yellow part. No one's gonna eat this. No one's gonna eat this. But when you make like soup, you want to use that. You use that as part of your base and then filter it out. So, I'm gonna do a soup recipe, soup one too. I make really good soup. My brother-in-law Elias was here. He would tell you all about my turkey soup that I make around Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a funny American holiday. I know there's a lot of people around the world who watch these podcasts. Thanksgiving is one of those things we all just eat a lot in November together. So my onions are starting to be ready to be the final step of cooking. I'm going to also peel. I like to peel things first before I start cutting them up. Not too much, just kind of keeps my space clear. Garlic is another funny one. You know, garlic, when you crush it like I just did with my hands, what you start to do with it is it starts to get air and it starts to oxidize. When garlic starts to oxidize, you get this compound becoming more active in here, one that's antimicrobial in nature. So when you crush your garlic, let it get a little air on it, that actually is what releases that component. I'll have patients who have like GI stuff where they have a little bacterial overgrowth. And you run labs on them, you can do a stool test. But what you find with it is just if you give them garlic, and this sounds crazy, I know it does, but it's old-fashioned medicine. But you take garlic, take one clove of garlic, right? And you break it, like take this guy right here, you crush it up a little bit, like that much, break it down. And you take that, you let it sit in the air for a little bit, and then you put that in a little shot glass with a little bit of water, and you just shoot it. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Don't do this unless your doctor advises it, or unless you have a strong stomach and you've done it before. Some of us were raised around garlic, but antimicrobial part of that is pretty amazing. You do that, like an onion soup, quercetin in here for your GI to reduce the histamines. You do maybe some cabbage. Cabbage is really good. Also, cabbage is high, we're not using cabbage today, but I'm just gonna talk about cabbage because I love it. Cabbage is also high in fiber. Cabbage is very high in fiber. And the beautiful thing about cabbage is that it's also high in L-glutamine, an amino acid. And when you take the cabbage and you cook that, you're gonna get the benefit of the fiber, L-glutamine. It's also from that same family of vegetables that really helps with your body's liver detox pathways. You know, when you boil cabbage, it has that wonderful sulfury kind of smell. Those compounds in that help play a role in liver detox pathways. So it's just all healthy eating. There's nothing I said in here is weird. It may sound like atypical or not normal, like, oh, you're gonna take garlic to kill bacteria, you're gonna take, make soup for histamines, for flavonoids. The science stands behind it. Science and experience. All right, so my saute function is going. Come on. The thing about the pressure cooker that's not my favorite, it takes a long time to get up to temp. So that's why it's on right now. You see it gurgling up a little bit. All right, so we're gonna cut our onion up. The thing about cutting up onions or any of the other vegetables, when you're making a dish like this, you wanna make your onion close in size to your bean. You wanna make everything kind of a similar size when you're cutting up your vegetables that go in with this. So I'm gonna kind of go in that direction with my onions. I love these knives. You don't have to make this big of a dish if you only have like 2 people in your family. You don't have to make this. You always just scale it down. I'm making a large one because the whole office is here today and everyone's going to eat it when we're done. See, I'm sticking close to that size that we wanted to be. When I was younger, I worked at this restaurant in Kauai on the North Shore. The restaurant's name was Zelos, right? There was a chef there named Josh. He was so mean. If I didn't cut everything perfectly, he would just yell. It's not the best way to learn how to cook. But the reason why you want a similar size is when you cut things down is because when you have a similar size, they're going to cook in a similar timeline. So onions are ready to go in. I want to make something really clear. I'm putting the onions in first without the garlic. Why would you do that, Brendan? Because the onions take longer to cook. And garlic, if you try cooking it, throwing it at the same time, it's going to scorch a little bit. It's not going to get the same flavor profile that you're looking for. So you want to make sure you hold off on your garlic. It's tempting to throw it in right away. Tempting. I feel that temptation with you. But it's worth waiting. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. And I'm going to let the onions start to reduce down. So the goal is to cook the onion down until it becomes translucent. You want to break down that texture from that firm white to being more translucent. And what happens as you're cooking that, you're going to turn from being that sharp, acrid flavor to be a little bit smoother, a little bit sweeter. So these are just basic yellow onions cooking up here. Garlic is still sitting on the side ready to go. The next things I'm going to add to this, once this has been ready, it's been reduced down, I'm going to add in my chorizo. First garlic, then chorizo. I'm going to let that chorizo cook for a little bit. Then I'm going to add to that my tomatoes. To get ready now, I'm going to start cutting up my tomatoes. Now, these are beauts. I love them. They didn't have that many heirloom tomatoes today at the store. I just got what they had. So I'm thankful for that. Heirloom tomatoes are awesome. I make an heirloom tomato risotto, which is totally delicious. Mark Joseph, my son's nephrologist. I keep talking about that guy lately. He has no idea. Anyway, Mark Joseph, my son's nephrologist, he used to grow tomatoes, and he and I used to always talk about cooking risotto, and he would make an epic tomato risotto, he claimed, but I never tasted his. He's in Oregon right now, teaching, I believe. That's the last I heard. So Mark, if you're out there, I think I want to make some tomato risotto because I remember that conversation. So you notice my tomatoes, I'm cutting them. Now the tomatoes are going to break down, so it's not like I'm cutting them to be the same size as the beans. The onions are not going to fully break down. The onions are going to be there for a while, you know? So the onions are going to maintain that size. But the tomatoes are going to break down, and I want them to break down. I'm cutting them small, not for any reason other than I want them to break down quickly. So I do the cross cut on the top like that. One line, two lines. There you go. And you flip it. Oof, great question. Heirloom tomatoes are good because that's how tomatoes used to be. That's the original, like, old-fashioned style of tomatoes. You know, we like apples or anything else. There's been adjustments with the way that they have different strains of tomatoes, different types of tomatoes. You get these old people saying tomatoes used to taste like tomatoes. Nowadays, they don't taste like tomatoes. And what they're trying to tell you is they don't taste like tomatoes anymore because in order for tomatoes to make it to market easily, they kind of grow these types of tomatoes that don't have the same flavor, but they're more stable. They last longer on a trip from the farm to the supermarket, and they last longer at the supermarket. They take a little bit more of a beating. You know, heirloom tomatoes are easily bruised. they break, they just don't make it as easy, so they're a little bit more expensive for that reason. When it comes to food, it's funny. I after all these years of cooking and prepping my own food and making it from scratch, I know for a fact, if you spend the time to prepare the food yourself, you save money. The only thing you lose is time. And if you get good at like prepping your food and knowing what you want and getting good at how to make it on time, you could do a good job at prepping your own food and making your own food. Still, the thing I want to get into is like the cost of cooking for yourself. When you do it that way, you can pick and choose the things you want to be a little bit more splurging on. You can kind of get away with sometimes doing more heirloom tomatoes because they're more reasonable if you're doing that and you're cooking more at home. It's not as big of a spend. I guess that's my point. If you're going out all the time and eating a lot of food out, or if you're eating a lot of prepared food, and that adds up fast. And then buying like heirloom tomatoes, be like, Brendan, heirloom tomatoes is a lot. But if you're doing most of your cooking at home, price points start to shift. If you cook and everything out of the produce aisle, if you try and do all of your shopping on the outside of the supermarket, and okay, I'm talking about America right now, because in America, supermarkets are weird. You walk in and the produce section, and it wraps all the way around. So you have the produce section, and then you have the back section, which has the meat and the dairy. The idea is you want to shop on the periphery of a supermarket because that's where all the healthier stuff is. The stuff that's not as healthy tends to be in the middle of the store. So you try and shop on the periphery, more in the produce section, more in the butcher if you can. Those sorts of ways of shopping rather, can be more cost effective and also much healthier for you. You notice my cutting board is wiggling around. The reason why, I didn't put a towel underneath it, so it's kind of unstable. Normally I have a towel to put in there, but I'm cooking at work today. This is being filmed at the Protea Cafe. We have a cafe at work. So since I'm not at home, I don't have all the same tools I normally have to work with home. So that's why I'm not cooking on stovetop. I'm cooking in Instant Pot. And I'm not using a regular pan, I'm just using my Instant Pot, which works well. This is starting to come together. This is what you're looking for. It's starting to break down. You see starting that color. This is a good time to put in the garlic. A lot of ways you can do garlic. I'm right now just doing it like just a little mince. You can use one of those garlic presses. Those are fine. Garlic presses are not a problem. Your goal is, though, is to get it broken down, and you want to make it nice and small. Crushing it's a nice little way to kind of make it easier. You don't want to have big chunks of garlic in there. I mean, I like big chunks of garlic, but I don't know how many other people do. I'm much better at my knife skills than this today, sorry. And it's not, I can't say, oh, this is not my knife. This is actually my knife. So I'm just not cutting garlic well today. Normally I line it up and do all these little angles on it to make it work better, but it is what it is. Got a garlic press, it would take a lot less time. So you're probably wondering, how did you, Brendan, a white kid with an Irish name, learn how to make beans? That's a good question. There's a chef named Sergio Verduzco that I worked for. I was living in Colorado. I was in Telluride. And he was this executive chef at this restaurant called Eagles. And he was from Veracruz, I believe. And he was a Mexican chef, and I just loved him. I remember first starting to cook with him. I'd never, been exposed to Mexican cooking other than just like basic, fast food or just, I just had very little exposure. And I remember working for him. I remember he made steaks once. I was like, oh, look, steak is good. He was making steak, and he's like, we're doing habanero relish. He put on it. I don't know about you, but the word relish does not mean habanero in where I come from. Again, I don't know. It's another thing about Irish heritage and cooking Irish stuff. Cooking is, mayonnaise is spicy to us. So I was blown away by this guy's style, and I loved him. I was so good at speaking Spanish by the time I was done working with him, but I had such a good time. I learned so much. So this is not his recipe, because if it was, I would have opened up saying, this is Sergio's recipe. No, this is my recipe. This is something that I put together over the years based upon my own experiences, what works well for me. Sergio's would be way hotter than mine. And he would probably put a different profile of proteins in there, meats, than what I'm doing. So if you notice, I'm cutting down my peppers now. Peppers I'm going to add in before I add the chorizo. I forgot to mention that earlier. See, I'm still doing the cuts like that. You're looking in here, you're probably saying, Brennan, you're getting sloppy because you have some seeds in there. I do have some seeds in there. These seeds are not the same. These seeds are not the same as like jalapeno seeds. Jalapeno seeds, if you get them in your cooking, it makes your cooking infinitely hotter. And by the way, we're gonna be cooking with jalapenos. So I'm gonna de-seed the jalapenos way better than I did the bell peppers. Hey, bell peppers, organic. Yes, that's always gonna be your best choice. Bell peppers and tomatoes are notoriously highly pesticided. So if you're going to spend some money on buying organic food, say you're like, okay, I want to buy organic food, but I can't buy all organic food. I get that. We're all human beings in this life. Not everyone can swing organic at every meal. And I agree with that. It's, we have to figure it out. Some foods are very little pesticide. Some foods are a lot of pesticide. So you need to kind of pick and choose your battle sometimes. And that's true. That's valid. So when it comes to bell peppers, tomatoes, try and get those organic. That makes a difference. So mine are organic. I got mine, both these sets of these organic. I also got my cilantro organic. I made that choice too. Actually, I got the beans organic. I did everything organic. I did everything organic. It just was available. There's no shame. There's no shame in cooking organic and non-organic. The goal is not to say, oh, you're not doing it right because you're not doing it organic. The goal is not to say you're not doing it right because you're doing it vegan. The goal is not to make an absolute in cooking. That's the worst thing you can do to someone. Never do that. The goal is not to shame someone. That doesn't work, When I have a patient coming into me who doesn't know how to cook, it doesn't have any knife skills, that's not the moment for me to say to them, you should learn how to do it, or you should do better, or that doesn't work. That's unhealthy. It's this whole idea of me talking to you today and doing this video is me to show you, you could do this. Now you see my flipping around the knife and all this stuff. I know some of you are looking at that and saying, wow, I can't do that. And others are looking at this like he's moving slow and he's not consistent. This is meant to be just showing you how you can do it, and if you're just starting out, work slow, work gentle, you know what I mean? Learn how to do it. And if you've been doing this for a long time, I hope you have some ideas from this, I want to reach out to you and give you some ideas on how to incorporate more fiber into your diet, how to enjoy cooking a little bit more, how to make your own food a little more. This this pressure cooker is going to be full of beans. I'm going to put it on, when I'm done, it'll be on for about 45 minutes, half an hour to make it cooked. And once it's cooked, it's going to sit in this guy for a while and keep warm. And people are coming and hit this all day long in the office because to keep it at temperature. This is important. You can have good food hanging around. You don't have to, be stuck with just ordering out all the time or just, cooking food straight out of the box and eating straight out of the box, pre-prepared foods. You could do this from scratch. That's my goal, and to make it easy. So no shame and no judgment on where you are with your ingredient sourcing. No shame and no judgment on your skill set at cutting things. No shame and no judgment on any of these things. The only way to learn how to do it is doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right, tomatoes are cut, everything's ready. I'm trying to cook this down. I'm gonna get my peppers Down a little bit further. We're coming on my least favorite thing to do, jalapenos. I'm gonna use 1.5 jalapenos. It's a lot. I'm gonna use 1.5 jalapenos. You don't have to do that. You use half jalapeno. You can use a quarter jalapeno. You don't even have to use jalapeno. You should use jalapenos. So, jalapeno. This is the most dangerous thing we cook with today. Jalapenos, you see this little seed down here? This little seed, if that's a jalapeno seed, that's where the heat is. So you wanna make sure you're careful of that. Normally I wear gloves when I work with jalapenos, but I didn't bring gloves in with me today, and that's fine too. You're gonna cut the end off your jalapeno like that, you stand it up, or you can do it anyway. I do standing up, but you can lay it down, do it that way, and cut it in half. These are the spicy part in the middle, okay? So how do I navigate that? I'm going to cut it into quarters. And then I'm going to go to the sink and I'm going to run water and I'm going to use that to just either with my knife or with my hand remove the white part, the inner part of the onion, the jalapeno and the seeds. Now I know for a fact by handling this with my hands, even now, if I scratch my eye, I'm going to suffer. Don't touch your face. Just know this. All right. So we get this. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to prep it. So as you can see, these guys are now seeded. I've worked in places where when you took the tomatoes, you had to remove the seeds from tomatoes. True story. I never got that. I don't like that. I've also worked at places where when you want to use cilantro, you had to pick each leaf off. Each leaf had to be picked off the stem and then cut. You couldn't cut it from the stem. It's crazy. We're not that crazy. I told you I was to do 1.5 jalapeno. Darn it, I'm going to do 1.5 jalapeno. Man, my son Aiden is going to love these beans because they're spicy. So, jalapenos are ready to roll. No seeds in sight. Always watch for your seeds. Make sure they're gone. Unless you want more spicy, because it's just the wild card for me. How I'm going to cut them is I'm going to cut these actually smaller than beans. I'm going to go for a small mince on these guys. And the reason why is I want it to be broken down and not to be too much in any one bite. So I'm going to show you again on the next one how to do that again. Just be clear with knife skills. There's a way of cutting this where you're not going to cut yourself. So you're going to take this jalapeno, and you're going to just cut lines across it. Now, if you have a really sharp knife, you see how the jalapeno just stays there? If it's not a very sharp knife or it's not the best knife, it's going to pull the jalapeno up with you. That's okay if it does that. If you have a knife that doesn't do that, that's okay. Not everyone should work with sharp knives. You work your way up to a really sharp knife. If you does that and it comes up with it, you want to put your finger down and push it back down as you go. Just work slower. So once I've had those lines in, I just do little tiny mints. I line, see how I line them all up like that? I'm gonna take the knife, I'm gonna use my fingers, I'm rolling my fingertips underneath it. And there's so many videos that explain how to do this, but it's practice, practice, practice. Just put your fingers over it like that, and you're gonna just slowly roll your fingers back. And make sure that you're cutting skin side up. If you put skin side down, there's a chance the knife doesn't go all the way down and doesn't cut the skin when it's at the cutting board level, so you're not gonna have fully cut your jalapenos. It smells good. Trust me. If I was doing this without talking, it would have been done already, you know that? I'm just talking so much, so my timing is not gonna be good. So this is what you want it to look like. This is the beginnings of that sofrito. It's called sofrito, what we're making right now. This is sofrito is the base, and this is what it should be looking like. You see it's all kind of translucent, it's starting to break down. Now we're gonna add in our delicious chorizo. You can get chorizo at supermarkets. It doesn't have to be chorizo. No, but it's better when it is chorizo. Chorizo is that one unique Mexican thing that works best with this. So if you're gonna do meat, I prefer chorizo. All right, there's it. That's 2 pounds of chorizo that I just added. I'm doing it with 6 cans of beans. There's different kinds of chorizo out there. There's some that are made like there's called charcuterie. The person that makes sausage for you, that's called charcuterie. And when they make chorizo, they have different ways of doing it. One is a very loose chorizo. That's the one I'm using here that will fully break down into your food. God, it smells good. God, it smells good. All right. Do you smell it? It's starting to come together. That's chipotle. So chorizo, one of the things in there that makes it so fun and delicious is it's got chipotle in it. And chipotle is a smoked pepper. So this is almost ready. I'm going to let the chorizo cook for a little bit. And once the chorizo's been cooked a little bit, it doesn't have to be cooked all the way through. I want the flavors to start to mix. I want the chorizo and the onions to kind of share some flavors, go back and forth with that. And then when it's a little bit more prepared, the next step is going to throw in the tomatoes. And then we'll go from there for the broth. And then I'm going to add 1 bunch of cilantro. That's our next steps. So now the chorizo's pretty well mixed in. It's starting to break down. And now I'm going to add to it my tomatoes. Now, some people, you can use canned tomatoes too. Hello, you can totally use canned tomatoes, okay? Not above that, not beyond that. I've done it more than once in my life, and it comes out delicious, okay? You don't have to go and buy fancy tomatoes. You don't have to do any of that. You use canned tomatoes in this one too. What canned tomatoes do I use? God, I'm stuck in Italian with that all the time. When it comes to canned tomatoes, I use plum tomatoes, those are my favorites. Samarzano are even better. But you can use canned tomatoes that are pre-diced. You don't have to go all the way down this road of cutting and prepping your tomatoes. I just like doing that, So the tomatoes are now starting to prep and starting to break down in here. You want that to go for a little bit. I'm making this is gonna be a big batch. I hope they all eat it. This is gonna be huge. Bean batch. There's a lot of people that work here with Mexican heritage or Latin American heritage, and I'm gonna be putting my beans up against their memory of their mom's beans. So it's kind of intimidating. I'm a little nervous about it. One of the things I used to work a lot in was Italian restaurants. When I grew up in New York, and I used to work in a lot of Italian restaurants, and I got to make really good tomato sauce. My tomato sauce is pretty good, and trying to make tomato sauce for Italians, they always watch me like, "What are you doing?" So it's not necessarily cultural appropriation, but it's more like culinary appropriation. I don't know, but yeah, you don't have to be Mexican to make amazing beans. You just have to really want to do a good job, I think. And you don't have to be Italian to make really good tomato sauce. You don't have to be Irish to make Irish stew. There's a lot of, you can adopt this and make it your own and change the flavors. That's the fun thing about cooking. One of the fun things about cooking. So this is a important part. Water, that's important. And bouillon. I use Better Than Bouillon. Okay, this one, they do make this organic. It also is non-organic. I'm gonna use Better Than Bouillon. These water cups, I'm advertising for this company, it seems like. I'm not sponsored by anybody, never will be sponsored by anyone. But this is One Earth. These cups are made with bamboo. They're not plastic, they're PLA. So these don't have BPA phthalates. This does not have the same footprint on the world. These will be completely compostable. So I like that. And the reason I'm using it is because my measuring cups are at home and I'm at work today. I don't have measuring cups at work, so I'm using this. So these are 2 16-ounce cups filled. And then we're going to use bouillon, Better Than Bouillon. Better Than Bouillon is just my go-to bouillon. I just love it. It's my favorite. It's just delicious. I use it. So you're supposed to do 1 teaspoon per 8 ounces of water. I don't know. That doesn't never seem to work well for me, 1 teaspoon. I tend to do like a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons per cup. It's just flavor-wise works better for me. So I have a total of 4 cups of water technically because each of these 16 ounces. So I'm going to do 6. maybe even 7. We'll see. So I'll do 6. I can mix it in the cups. I could put these in the cups and stir it, the whole thing. I could do that. Why? You know, the thing is, like, I'm just gonna put these 6 right in the crock pot right away. 1. You see, when I do it, it's a big teaspoon for each one. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll do a 6. That'll do it. And I'm gonna add my water. Beans. So beans when you get them canned. Okay, let's talk about beans really quick. Beans, they come from a can, are already cooked down enough or broken down enough to just immediately work with right away. You don't have to do anything else. People are sensitive to beans because of lectins. A lot of people have sensitivity to lectins. Lectins are when beans are not fully broken down. These compounds in there are just not really healthy for GI for some people. Other people, it triggers autoimmunity, and some people's autoimmunity and GI stuff. There's a whole Gundry protocol around that. That's an important thing to be aware of, and I'm always working with that with my patients. This is a recipe for people who don't have lectin intolerance issues. Even so, still to this day, all of us, anybody who eats beans, they need to be soaked. They need to be pressure cooked to break down those lectins, and that's a really important thing. So these are already broken down. When you get it from a can that comes with that little weird stuff in it, I always rinse it. I don't like that stuff that comes in the canned beans. I don't like it. It just doesn't have flavor. It's not good, in my opinion. This is gonna be so freaking good. I can't wait. Come on. Come on. Come on, look at this. How can it not be good? Look at this. How can it not be good when it looks like that? Look at all the colors in there. These are not your mom's beans, unless your mom's Mexican and makes amazing beans. This is not traditional. This is not the beans you go out to a restaurant and say, like, okay, I'll have pintos and cheese, no cheese. Those pintos are just basically from the can, heated up, maybe put a little cumin on it, maybe, or taco spices on it, whatever. This is the real deal, okay? In here has all the things you need for something delicious. I promise you. Final step before I start the pressure cook is this. This is cilantro. Cilantro is an essential part of this dish, I believe. So cilantro is prepared best 2 ways in my mind. When you put cilantro in a dish and you heat it up, cilantro takes on a totally different flavor profile. And I like that flavor profile. So I'm gonna do 1 bunch, add it to the beans while they cook. Then I have another bunch I'm gonna use as a garnish at the end, because fresh cilantro has another flavor profile. If you ever have chicken noodle soup, you ever have chicken noodle soup? Was your kid? I don't know if they have it anywhere else in the world, but they have it way big time here for Campbell's soup. Anyway, I had chicken noodle soup as a kid a lot. The unique flavor that's in there that you're trying to figure out what it is cilantro when it's been cooked down. That's exactly what it is. Let's do a little fine mince on that. Like I said, I've worked in places where you had to peel every leaf off. You had to peel every leaf off, and you couldn't have any stem. That's crazy. That's crazy. Just use the whole thing. That's only meant for looks and to be like amazing fancy cooking. You don't have to be like that. And I'm not against having your beans have, bigger pieces of cilantro in there. That doesn't matter to me. I love cilantro. So that's our cilantro, 1 whole bunch. Little known fact, how I wooed my wife. She thinks it was because she made me banana bread for my birthday once. Not true. I won her over. I once made this whole thing with ravioli by hand. So try to say, if you're out there and you're in the market, you want to woo a woman, you learn how to cook one thing really good. This is the trick, I think. I always thought that was a good way to. But it worked, I do a lot of cooking at home too, so she's stoked about that. But yeah, this is how I wooed my wife, was cooking. I made her. It was a pumpkin mezzaluna, stuffed pasta. I stuffed pasta with pumpkin, and it was delicious. I remember that. All right, now We've put everything in there that needs to be in there. We've done everything that needs to be done. This is ready to go. And to be honest with you, this is gonna be delicious. So my next step is to take the lid. At first, when you're using a pressure cooker, those of you who use pressure cookers, those who know, you know. You want to turn it off real quick, cancel everything. You wanna put your pressure lid on. Mine got a little messy from cooking there. And now you wanna go and you wanna do pressure cook. You wanna change the timing of it to 40 minutes. You can do 30, but 40 is my favorite because everything starts to break down a little bit more. And it's a little, I don't know. I like when things start to mix a little bit better. I like my beans cooked down. If you like it like more individual beans, it's not sort of, you know, some beans will start breaking down in the cooking process. And it becomes more of a dense consistency, let's put it that way. I kind of like it that way. You can do less or more. Remember, everything that we just put in here, everything's done. Even the sausage, that's the chorizo's probably cooked all the way. But if you pressure cook it for 10, 15 minutes, it's definitely gonna be cooked. Still, with this guy, I'm gonna pressure cook it for 40 minutes to make sure I am all the way cooked through. And then we'll go from there. Hey, we're back. It's been 40 minutes. It's been cooking here. I've been smelling it around the office, and it's ready to go. One thing I want to point out before I break it open here and let you know, when you cook in a pressure cooker like this, the beauty of a pressure cooker is that it keeps everything inside of it, and he uses a combination of pressure and heat to cook things faster. And that's great for that. I love that. But a negative when it comes to beans or anything like that is that you're not going to lose any of the moisture. You're not going to lose any steam. And when you're doing that, when you're cooking something down, you're going to reduce it down on a stovetop. It reduces down. You lose a lot of that moisture as it heats up and as it's simmering, and that's going to condense the flavors. This one, the flavors didn't condense, but also it's going to be more of a loose consistency, almost like a soup. I tend to serve this at home over a bowl of rice. Now, if I made this over the stovetop, I'd reduce it down and be thicker. I could just put it on a plate. This is one of the ones that we're going to be doing in a bowl. Okay. Let's see how it came out. Smells good. And so how I serve it, you know, I'll do a bowl. I put rice on the bottom. I only brought one pressure cooker to work today, so we're just doing straight up beans without rice. So a little stir. And as you see, it's all come together here. You know? Nice. And then people can put jalapeños on it. I'm not going to put jalapeños on mine. You can put cheese on it. I'll definitely put some cheese on mine because I like cheese. And now at home, I would put it in the oven under a broiler. I'd melt my cheese. And you can do that here because we have a broiler. So I'm just going to put it on for now. See that? And I'm going to put a little fresh cilantro on that as well. All right. So I got a little bit of an oversized spoon because I didn't bring spoons to work today. We just have teaspoons, so I use a full-size spoon. And it's really good. I think you like it. It's really good. So I hope this helps you make some different decisions on preparing your food at home with ideas of maybe preparing your own beans from scratch like this, or even from canned like I just did for you guys. Yeah, let me know how it works out if you make this at home. Send us a message, and I'll see you at the next episode. And the next episode, I'm going to do white beans. I think I'll do white beans with a chicken sausage and sage, maybe. I don't know. Some white bean dish. I'll come up with something, and I'll do that next time. Thanks, and I'll see you again.